Welcome to Paradigms at paradigms.life, the radio show and podcast that brings you inspiring people with visions of a viable future for life on Earth that includes humans. Hi, I'm Baruch. Thanks for tuning in. Glad to be here with you. My guests on this episode exemplify that mission. 3 artists playing together, and they've just released an amazing double album. They're going to tell us about the music, about their process. We're going to hear some of the music, of course, and I think you'll really be delighted by where they're coming from and what they're about. And the music will take you places. So let's meet them right now on this episode of Paradigms. Happy to welcome the band Maetar to Paradigms. Welcome, guys. If you could each say your name and what your role is in the group, that would be great. And then we can just talk about this amazing music you're putting out.
My name is Itai. I play bass, percussion, vocal, and ethereal connections to outer space through my spaceship.
And Itai, welcome back to the show. You are part of Opium Moon and have been on Paradigms a few times. So nice to see you again.
Very nice to see you again, Baruch.
I'm Richard Fultineer. I'm the drummer in the band. You know, I'm a freelance drum set player, blue collar all the way, but I found Itai and Hagai. One by one, I met Itai first, and then he introduced me to his brother. And they've adopted me. So I got really lucky. I don't know, the universe was just giving me a gift. So it's been an incredible ride for several years now. And so I guess my function is to be one of their brothers and to create a groove or a bed. So it's a great field of play for what they magically do on their instruments.
My name is Hagai, and I make noise in the band. Cause as much trouble as I can. I play horns, all kinds. Some of these you see behind, some of these sprued all over the studio. Mostly the brass family, but also duduk and flutes and shells. And what do I do in the band? It's a fabulous question. In the way we function, we all create. So I create with the band, in the band, and for the band. That's the best thing I can describe.
So how long have you all been playing together?
Me and Hagai have been playing our entire life together. But with Richie, I think it's going now into like our 12th year.
Mm.
And, you know, the evolution of Maetar started since we were kids, but in the U.S., once we moved here, we had different iterations. And then at some point, Itai met this drummer, and then they started jamming. They invited me in. It was clear that there's something really special going on between us, and as it always has between Itai and myself. And so we've had different drummers, phenomenal drummers. We're very fortunate to work with some of them. And then I feel that we're extremely fortunate to have been working with Richie for the past 12 years, because let alone musically, he's phenomenal. I mean, incredibly versatile and profound drummer. It's just the soul, also the things, Richie, I always tell this to straight in your face, how the amazing things that you bring to us, both musically and also spiritually and emotionally. So, and it really made Maetar what it is today.
Yeah, and I would say to something that Richie said before, I don't really think that, if I may say, Richie, that you just make a groove for us to play over. I think actually the creation of Maetar, and one of the things that we really love and pride ourselves on the fact that it's a 3-way conversation.
Mm.
It's a pyramid within a sphere, if you will.
Mm.
So a lot of times something that Richie would do will create the ideas that give us the springboard. So it's not like there's a drummer that plays rhythm and we play over it. It's really, you know, that kind of full unit.
You all have just released this double album, Love Dub and the Abstract One Drop. It's very trancy. It's very psychedelic, frankly. But I'm really interested in this. Okay, so it's this incredible sequence of music. It's broken up into, songs, that are individual, but everything kind of one thing leads to the next, and you obviously sequenced it with intention. I'm just really interested in, okay, you all got together to make this music. What happened? How did it happen? And what was it like to be inside this music?
We are capable of writing every note and writing arrangements. But what we decided to do is what would happen if we created a space in which the basic idea is that we say yes to everything that comes our way and try to make musical sense out of it. And so with that in mind, we met every week, we played every week for hours and hours and recorded everything, and then went back, analyzed, listened, spoke about it, etc. And so our original intention we were going to release, we call it the Strings of Maetar. It was going to be seven, I guess it would be 7 double albums. We found out, we analyzed all this mountain of music, that we have sort of like 7 or 8 styles of things that we do. And so we wanted to really release the entire picture of what it is. But of course, releasing 14 records as your first release, it's a bit challenging.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that we discovered, for instance, is if we don't determine where the destination of the journey is, we may discover very interesting things. So for instance, like there's a song called After All on a record, which is very beautiful and kind of ethereal and gentle. If I played you where it came after half an hour of the most distorted, out there, intense, heavy jam that we did. That somehow at the end of it kind of veered off and went that song. So what we discovered is, instead of trying to chop it off and decide, we're going to let it flow. First we kill him, then we grill him. We just let the entire thing unfold, and then come back and find what were the gold inside of it, what were the points. Sometimes we created stuff that went a lot of different ways, and we decided just to pick one part of it. A lot of the songs don't really have like beginning and ending. They sort of kind of flow into each other. And then we said, okay, let's find out of this huge mountain of music, and believe me, it's good. We didn't leave it on the floor because it wasn't good. It was really good, but we decided to like find what's the most salient, relevant community stuff that will create a certain kind of vibe, and those we kind of collected and kind of curated into those 2 records.
In addition to everything Itai just mentioned, a lot of it has to do with us being completely open to the experience. There are bands who do this process. I just heard an interview with Tool. That's how they compose. They record everything, but then they go back and then they build the songs from those cuttings, and then they set them in as their form. Where for us, we flowed and flew and transcended. And I can tell you that today, when I listen to certain things from the record, I remember the physical feeling of playing them.
That's what I want to know about. What it was like to be inside this as you're playing it, which may be impossible to put into words, but it's when I was thinking about what do I want to ask these guys, that was the essence of it.
Okay, so I'll jump into that. I'm sure Richie and Itai have plenty to say about this too. Being in a small studio, 3 people for 2, 3, 4, sometimes 4 hours in a row can be daunting. Even if you love each other, but everybody comes, in a different place, and they bring whoever they are into the space. And so how do you leave what doesn't belong outside the door and just bring in your beautiful self and whatever it is that you, like Itai said before, say yes to it. And so the physical feeling is a feeling of the successful ones, of surrender, the feeling of letting go, the feeling of being unhurried, the feeling that there is time, the sensation in which the sound is really tasty. And there's a way in which the discoveries that come from the music and from the loops and from all the technical innovations that we use to enhance our compositional skills and what we hear and what we feel from each other become an organic process. And so, music begins where words end. So some of it is hard to describe, but I can tell you physically, like I said, the best way I can describe it is a sense of surrender. And at the time, just really celebration and elation. And sometimes there are times in which I had tears, and sometimes laughter. But so that's kind of from what I can say at this point.
Wow, that's hard to follow. That's a great summary of, I think, the process that I go through when I'm playing with guys. We do spend a lot of time lingering in these areas where it's just ambient. We're not in a hurry to go to the next thing because, frankly, we don't know what the next thing is. It's just sort of evolving. And what happens is there's a trust, something will reveal itself. Inevitably, something gets revealed. And, we play late into the night, and then Itai does the extra hour or two to do a rough mix, and he throws us all on Dropbox. The next morning, I'm listening to it. I go, oh my God, that was us. So I get a little bit removed from it after the activity of doing it. And then I just become this really involved listener. And so I tell the guys, I'm Maetar's biggest fan. I'm a huge fan of Maetar, because we go into these places, and when I'm home and I'm stretching in the morning, I'm not in that place anymore. But then I hear it later and I go, wow, that's us. Damn, that's really unique and it's special. And it has staying power. I like to listen to it over and over again. And I think that was one of the main impetuses of us doing this album is we got to get this stuff out. I mean, I don't know if anybody's going to get it, but we get it. So we ended up doing this thing. So yeah, the activity of doing it is, I think Hagai put it into words beautifully, more poetically than I could. But yeah, there's a feeling in the music when we're doing it that's more important than the intellect. It's more important than, I've played in fusion bands and jazz bands, and these guys have plenty of stories too. It's usually about getting through the head as a springboard and getting off to the fantastic solo that you're going to do, that kind of thing. And that's beautiful. And I listen to and love that music for forever. But this is different. This is a thing that goes deep into a place in the heart and soul that the intellect doesn't travel to so much. And we're hoping that when people listen to it, they get a feeling more than that's a blistering solo. They'll find that maybe in the albums. They're there, but that's not where we're going with the music. We're trying to take it somewhere else, or it just goes somewhere else when the three of us play.
There's a state that I call being in the light, and that's a state where basically the noise of everyday stops, the mundane things that don't matter stop, and you're just in this sort of like ecstatic flow of feeling. I don't know what listeners are going to view this, but I will very easily compare it to the best sex, the best. It's a tantric. It's an experience. It's, for me, basically, it's an experience that I live for. Everything is sort of like waiting, because what happens is when we're in that state, we practice every day. We work on our instruments, work on our mind, work on our concepts and all this. But this is a state where we get to just drop all the thinking and really just be in this like vibration of sound together. And like Hagai said, because we don't know what's the next thing, and because we're not hurried, and because we don't have an agenda, and we don't have to like be this or that, it allows us to kind of like, it's freedom. It really, to me, it's a sense of like flying, sense of being in an enlightened state, sense of freedom, sense of ecstasy. It's an ecstatic state, really. And I really, at this point in my life, this is the only way I want to play, and the only musical organization I'm really interested in being in. I'm a composer and I do this and this, but like to be in that state and to reach that state with people that are there with you, where we're spirits now. We're sounds, we and it's amazing. And Hagai and Richie constantly do things that surprise me and excite me and kind of get me to. So it's a constant. It's the best. It's like surfing the giantest wave.
I'm talking with the band Maetar, Itai Disraeli, his brother Hagai, and Richard Fultineer. We're talking about their new double album, Love Dub and the Abstract One Drop. We're going to hear some of the music now. The album is very intentionally sequenced, and I'm playing things out of sequence. For the full experience, definitely listen to the whole double album set. But we're starting out with something called That Maetar Sound. Maetar from their new album, Love Dub and the Abstract One Drop. You're listening to Paradigms at paradigms.life. We just heard 2 tracks from Maetar's new double album, Love Dub and the Abstract One Drop. We heard Cloud Morphing, and before that Maetar sound. And now we're going to get back to my conversation with Hagai, Itai, and Richie. This is Paradigms at paradigms.life. This is an approach to life, to be present, to surrender to what's happening, to be curious about what comes next, and not to just be in your head. And those are the things that make life amazing. And I think about, I'm not a musician. I don't have that light space in music, but I have it in ritual or in my work as a therapist or when I do body work. You go to a place that is not about thinking or any of that stuff. It's not about your identity. All that goes away. All that's there is the magic, the light, the energy that the cosmos is made of. So I love that. Thank you guys. That was great.
And both, if I may, we firmly believe that because this music was made in this state, we believe that it's actually encoded in the sound of the music. And therefore, it's part of our peace work in the world. We feel that if people listen to it and allow themselves, that same vibration will get through to them and will help them in the way on their journey.
I just had this weekend, I was at this memorial, and I was speaking to a guy who's a bigwig creative director somewhere in Disney or something. And we had this exact conversation about the vibrational quality of music and how, in the mysterious way in which it heals, and how you bring that with technology and so forth. But this point is, Itai, that you said, is really brilliant, because when something is done in that way of peace, done in that place of love, done in a place of acceptance, done in a place of inclusion, done from a place of present, it speaks for itself. So I'm so happy you actually did take the time to listen, and it did touch you in a meaningful way. And that's the only thing we can ask for.
Yeah. The world is so kind of cutting everything to little sound bites and little, and I personally think it's done on purpose. It's done to dumb people down. It's done to control people. It's done, if you cannot extend a thought, how can you extend an understanding? So I think being able to give yourself and others the freedom to have a stretch of time to do something, whether it be really anything, but for us, really, your song has to be 3 minutes and 2 seconds, 2 minutes. Now, they've been cutting shorter now, and some things take time. All good things take time.
Apropos the conversation about the vibrations, the great John Coltrane said, God is in the center of the sound. So when I pick up my horn or whatever I play, I always try to bring it to the forefront of my consciousness. And that's why, in a way, on one hand, sound bites, are problematic, but in the other sense, they're actually freeing, because Itai, something you said earlier to the kids, we also work with kids. We are also educators. Apropos being present and and so that the ability to express a profound idea with very few words, or with very few da-da-da-da, right? So just the ability, if we're lucky enough to create melodies that are immediately recognizable and are repeatable, it does not take away from the Stravinskys of the world or all the complex stuff that takes a while to develop. And with that, the ability to have a tone, a sound with a musical phrase that's like, you change somebody's life. And if you're lucky enough, it's like a smile, right? That's something I personally strive for within our music.
This is maybe a little technical, but I don't know. I'm really interested in the dance between rhythm and melody. And also, melody is a very limiting word, because people think of melody as a song that has a regular repeated melody, but it doesn't have to mean that at all. So I'm interested in what it means to you guys.
Let's start with the drummer.
Well, I outline a lot of what I do on something that I'm hearing that's melodic. And it can be, just a few clever intervals or something interesting that touches me. And I feel a rhythm to apply to that. And at the same time, I'm hoping that if I do just come up with a groove that's not necessarily melodically based, that it'll inspire melody. And I'm playing with two guys that are just ripe with melodies. Both of these guys just walk and sing. Just their being is melodic. So melody is really important to me. And it's the prime thing that drives folkloric music. It's usually the melody and rhythm. There's whole Brazilian ensembles that just have escole, marching sordo and all the Brazilian instruments and melody on top, and it's complete. It's a complete structure, and there's obviously harmonic things happening, but the focus is on the melody and the rhythm. So I get to have everything with this composite of people, tons of melody, fun grooves, backward, upside down, kind of tweaked and playful grooves. And then this harmonic thing that happens, Hagai in the bass, Itai has incredible harmonic sensibility. And so it's a complete picture. But yeah, melody usually is the first thing out of the gate for me. I think I respond to melody and react to melody right away. If I'm not hearing it, I'll hear it in others, and then I'll react usually in some kind of rhythmic way. So yeah, my side of the pyramid here on that topic.
And then Itai, as the bass player, you're kind of the bridge.
That's true. I mean, the one of the things that's nice about the bass, so very satisfying, is that you really, as your function is really to have both harmonic, rhythmic, and melodic, because the choice of notes that I will make would really change completely different whatever melodic theme is happening. But one of the things that I wanted to relate is our grandfather, who's a pioneer and is actually and recognized one of the early Israeli poets. Some of his songs are still kind of actually being sung there to this day. He used to play mandolin and banjo, and because we used to play with him around the dinner table and everything. And one of the things he always used to say to us is, "Where is the melody?" We played him some jazz, but I don't like he used to call them jazzum. The jazzum was, where's the melody? Where's the melody? And one of the things that I got from this is really the depth of how melodies touch us. You think about the great soloists, for instance. They can play a million notes, but it's going to be a melodic things that they will play. I mean, think of Santana, for instance, the guitar player. One of the greatest thing about him is his solos are singable. They're really an essential part of David Gilmour. The essential part of the songs are those melodies that they play as solos. And so for me, I think that the question is, how does a melody expresses emotion? How does intervals express emotion? How do they make you feel, Now, one thing that's really interesting that I find out is if you take a note and you start slowing it down, you take a high note, you start slowing it down like on an oscilloscope or something, at some point that note will become rhythm. If you slow the vibration slow enough, it actually becomes a rhythm. If you take a rhythm and speed it enough, it will become a tone. So in other words, they're actually completely related. They're just different speeds
of the same
thing.
Love that.
So now comes the question of how do we relate them to each other? And being with such great, like Hagai, I mean, one of Hagai's greatest strength is his beautiful tone and his melodies. And so he comes up with all these like really fantastic stuff that inspires me. And for me as a bass player, and that's part of what I do also with Opium Moon, is that the idea that creating a melodic statements that will touch your heart, not in their complexity, not in their speed, but in their tone, in expression, and I think that if you dig deep enough into this, melodies contain almost the secret of everything. They have secrets of harmonies in them, secrets of rhythm, kind of all in there. So I'm big on melody.
And you're feeling it out. You're not like mathematically calculating how to make this. It's intuitive, instinctual, right?
Yeah. Because when you calculate, see, the thing is this: we have machines now that write music. And basically you feed them all the music that was ever made, and they say, write some. You can write music mechanically. You can, but it will not be Duke Ellington. It will not be Louis Armstrong. It will not be Billie Holiday. It won't be Bob Marley, It
won't make you cry unless you're crying about how it was made.
Exactly.
It seems like we always go back to the folkloric essence of things. And the reason I think the more I listen to music, the more I listen to other people's music, the more I listen to our music, it's about the singability of things. Can you sing it? Hum a few bars. Can you sing that little riff for me? Can you come up with something that I can hum and will wait? What can I carry with me? Drummers actually are the ones that make all these things happen. It's not that the harmonies don't, they clearly do, but there's something so fundamental about the way that rhythm, for me, that rhythm suggests, not even suggests, actually it's the wrong word, opens the gates to that spherical existence of here's where the note's supposed to be. Dizzy said that he listens for the rhythm first. What's the rhythm that needs to be there? I think Roy Haynes was always talking about how when a horn player or any improviser goes to play, from his standpoint, a rhythmical impetus should feed what they're playing. So to me, melodies express the entire human experience. When we really hit them, and Itai's got fabulous melodies, they're very catchy, and so is Richie. And sometimes we just play on a drum only, right? It's a whole world of unit. When I play my dunduns, I hear melodies. I don't think about trying to think anyway, but just really feel the rhythm and feel what is the melody, and there's always a melody. So when you talk about the relationship between melody and rhythm, it's one and the same for me. I think it's such a gift to be able to create melodies, and people that are able to do that successfully, or sometimes you just fall on something that's like, that goes to the next level, or maybe the most fundamental one, and that's the one of listening, or not just hearing, but actually listening. The great James Gadsden, we had the privilege of playing with. For those of you who don't know, you've heard him millions of times on drums. One of the things he taught us is about me, when I first played with him, is how deeply and how quickly he listened. I was blown away by this. It was such a profound teaching experience. To me, when I'm able to really, really, really listen and tune out everything else, and just be completely in the moment, then gorgeous melodies or fun melodies just show up. And it's like, the trick is to hear them, know that you just did something good, and repeat it, harness it. And so,
what does Maetar mean?
Well, it's a Hebrew word, actually also Semitic word. It means a few things. Actually, my wife suggested it, Tommy. And it means string, chord, C-O-R-D. And in the Bible, actually, it was used mostly in two different terminologies of tying tents and using it as a bow and arrow. However, as time progressed, they started to use it for other things. I'm going to let my brother here continue this for me.
Well, you have the strings of an instrument, obviously. And in a way, if you look at our logo, one way of interpreting it is like, when you pluck a string and it just starts the vibration, you can see the oscillation in there. The other thing is words in Hebrew can be analyzed by their letters, the combination of the letters, the permutation of the letters, etc. So another way of reading that, what that name means is Maetar, which means like the water that you take with you when you go on a road, like the most essential thing you need with you on a journey, so to speak. Another thing is that it's a vibration of change. And again, if you read it with slightly different letters, it can also mean rain. So it's again, like everything with us, it's not just one thing, there's layers and layers of within those meanings. And string theory, if you're into string theory and what that means. When I found out that they think string theory thinks that the entire world is composed of tiny little vibrating strings, come on.
We'll be back with the final part of my conversation with Maetar after we hear another track of music from their new double album set, Love Dub and the Abstract One Drop. This one's called In the Sun. In the Sun by Maetar from their new double album set, Love Dub and the Abstract One Drop. And now here is the final part of my conversation with Maetar, Richie, Itai, and Hagai. So you've described this space you go into in this music. And what I want to know is, how has going into that space creatively affected your personal life, your relationships, the way you are in the world, how you see things?
Great question.
What a deep, profound question that is. And thank you for that. On a personal level, I've been, I've had my own struggles and demons with being a musician and feeling my value, as a musician. And I guess I've got a lot of my identity, which is really a crocus, whatever. My identity sort of wrapped up in a tight ball around being a musician. I think what's happened with me with Maetar is that tight ball's unraveled, and I've let go of things that I was preoccupied with that I think needed to feed me or feed my ego, to give myself self-worth and value. And Itai and Hagai have really, in the experience of meeting them and playing with them, have asked me, I don't think necessarily directly, but non-verbally, to be my best. When I'm with them and we're playing, I'm being my best. And when I'm being my best, that means I'm really getting everything out of the way, the ego, the urgency of playing something important, trying to impress my bandmates or trying to impress the audience. All that stuff goes away, and I really am with them. Maybe very few times in my life have I had musical experiences that have been that and not sustained. But when I play with these guys, my brothers, that's what I'm asked to bring. And we get there, and I get there more often than not. And for me, I can't put any value on that. That is a priceless experience. I've grown immensely as a musician. I think I've gotten a little bit more solid as a being around these guys. And they've shored me up in some areas where I was wobbly, and I'm still working on it. I'm still shoring myself up. But just this overall acceptance, Richie, we love you. We love what you're doing. Just keep bringing it. Who else tells you that? As a musician, I show up, I put a tie on, I shut up. We say, shut up, suit up, and, suck it up kind of thing, doing general business gigs. All that is not what Maetar is. Maetar is completely the other direction. Come on, bring it on. Bring everything you got. And it's just a lot of respect and mutual support. Life has its struggles, and musicians are tough. You got to plow through stuff. You're working all day, and then you got to go and perform and give it your all, and you want to be prepared. When I play with these guys, my shoulders drop. I'm breathing more deeply, and it's just an experience that I really revere and want to keep doing. So that's how it's changed my life. It's changed it a lot. Music's very important to me, but now it's the relationships with these guys and the music has become very, very important to my life. And my wife, who adores me, and she sees the difference in me. I think she said the shape of my face has changed since I met these guys. I don't know what that means exactly, but she sees it. She sees it's a transformation. So yes, it's done a miraculous thing for me in my pursuits of being a better musician. Meeting these guys, I feel like I got really lucky.
The answer for me is really super easy. Maetar is what allows me to carry on my work in this world. Maetar is space of freedom, space of joy, space of, like I was telling the guys, we're not playing many shows to thousands of people yet, but I get to have every week the best live concert with the best musicians, and to express myself fully and to be who I really am. And that allows me to walk this earth as a free man, as a man who operates from his heart, as a man who can bring peace and love for real into this earth, into my own personal life. It's a safe space. It's a power space. It's a sacred circle. It's Maetar and the music that we make together and my friendship and brotherhood with Hagai and Richie is the well that I drink from. It's the oasis. It's the garden. It's the place where having what we build together and developing our language and our music and our friendship and our sound makes me feel like a self-realized human being on this earth. And allows me to go on, really. It allows me to handle anything that's happening in the world. And as we know, this is a challenging world. But it really allows me to be the best of who I am. So I'm eternally grateful to my brothers and to our music and committed to the continuation of this work and the continuation of spreading our message and our music in the world and doing it with joy and happiness. That's what that means to me and what he's done and is doing in my life.
Okay, being with these two amazing human beings and musicians, it's a space of freedom. It shows me that I can do and be anything. And everything that I dream about or imagine, I can become. So it kind of really reiterates in Qigong we say, the extraordinary is the ordinary. So when I wake up in the morning, I say thank you. And when I go to sleep, I say thank you. And I say thank you to Itai and Richie every day because having that safe space, nothing is always roses and perfume, clearly. It's a lot of hard work. The thing that makes it so different is we do it for love. And yes, we want to get paid. Yes, we want to be worldwide and all of that thing, and we see it. It's going to happen. And they're playing our music in Australia, in Japan, and so the thing is, it's about the sense of realization. It's about sense of becoming, if I'm speaking from my perspective, my own potential, my own instinctual essence. It's becoming, but is encouraged. So the further I go, the further we go. It's true for all of us. The more I'm listening to our music, the more I see other people play. I'm struck by how much further we can go and how we can continue evolve. And this just gives me a lot of happiness and gives me a lot of vision for the future. And it teaches me also about being present. And, I mentioned it a second ago before we spoke, Baruch, about, like you asked me about the flutes. When did I start playing those? Well, I told you I had brain surgery and I couldn't play my trumpet. So how these guys supported me was incredible. There's absolutely no pressure. And it took a few years before I was actually, now I'm back. And I can really say like I'm fully back. But it took 4 or 5 years or something like this to actually happen. And so it makes me feel healthy. It makes me feel happy. It makes me feel myself. And that's the greatest gift there is.
Hagai, Richie, Itai, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to talk with you and to hear your thoughts and share feelings with you about life. Thank you so much for putting this out there for people to hear and resonate with, and may it do its job, change the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
From your mouth to God's ears, as we say.
That's right.
Thank you so much also for being such a deep soul and have such great ear and great questions and great kind of insight, because your questions make us think even more about our thinking and our music. So thank you for the time and for the attention.
Thank you, Baruch.
Itai, Richie, Hagai, it was such a pleasure talking with the three of you. Completely enjoyable. The deep feelings of kinship and shared musical magic come across loud and clear, and the music takes us to a place where we can be ourselves inside and feel that light that Itai was talking about. And when we feel that on the inside, it can radiate from us. Imagine a world where everybody spent some time every day feeling that deep sense of connection. I love what you guys had to say and the way you are with each other, the music that you make. I will keep listening to your music. And folks, if you'd like to know more about Maetar, their website is maetar.com, Maetar. And you can find them on Bandcamp to listen to all their records. It's maetar1.bandcamp.com. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed this episode of Paradigms, I hope you'll check out the Paradigms website, paradigms.life. This is the first episode in our 16th year. Congratulations and thanks to all the listeners and guests who make Paradigms possible. If you visit the Paradigms website, at the bottom of the page, there's a link to my new audiobook, Khalil Gibran's The Prophet, narrated by Starhawk. It's a piece of work I'm really proud of. I hope you'll check that out too. You know, listening to Maetar's music, listening to these guys talk about what it means to them to make the music and the emotional, psychic, spiritual places they go to as they make this music, it's an invitation for all of us to go there, to find the things in our lives that bring us that kind of clarity. The circumstances of our lives often dictate our choices. But one choice we usually do have, even when things are very difficult, is a choice to focus on possibility and to love and be kind to those around us, even in the most dire of circumstances. I know, easier said than done sometimes, but this is how we change the world into the world that I believe humans really want, which is a peaceful place where everyone gets to thrive. And I believe that music like this is part of our journey towards that world. We're definitely talking about peace when it comes to relations between nations, but we're also talking about peace when it comes to relations just between people. I'm sure you've all noticed in the media, social media, etc., there are folks who are just out there to stir up trouble. And you know what? It's really easy to help them fail by simply not reacting and tuning them out. The loud, complaining, nasty voices coming out of a lot of politicians, we can just ignore them and unelect them come November. Because when it comes to making a better world, it's really important that we each do that in our own personal lives, but also that we hold accountable those in public service. Remember, they are there to serve us. They are not there to aggrandize their egos or pad their pocketbooks, which is what a lot of them are doing. Okay, enough said. We are going to close out this show with one more track of music from Maetar's new album, Love Dub and the Abstract One Drop. This one's called Goat Milk. And let's let the word for the week be groove. Find your groove. Let's all find our emotional, spiritual, mental, and musical groove. You know, when you're in the groove and things just move along in a smooth kind of way, let's go for some of that. All right, Baruch signing off for this episode of Paradigms. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back next time with more inspiring people. Until then, let's just be in the groove and be well. You've been listening to Paradigms at paradigms.life.